All right, this is the perfect time to get together because there's a lot happening with real estate.
There's so much going on.
There's a lot of legislation that is now coming through. But before we get into it, we started doing this segment, Undervalued, Overvalued. So it's going to be really quick. I'm going to give you rapid fire questions. How should we do it?
Each one.
With both.
With two.
Yeah, let's see where they connect and where they disagree.
I like that. So we'll start with Kathy, move to Rich. First question, investing in out-of-state turnkey rentals, overvalued or undervalued?
Depends, but can you say even?
You can go neutral. Go
Neutral.
Undervalued.
Undervalued. The FIRE movement. Are you familiar with FIRE?
Overvalued.
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 Overvalued. I love that. House hacking.
Undervalued.
Can I get
Oh,
clear?
keep going.
What do you mean by overvalued and undervalued?
Okay.
Because
You could call it saturated.
Okay.
Or blown out, no opportunity.
Overhyped.
Overhyped.
okay.
Yeah. Like if
Okay.
you asked me about Airbnb investing right now, I would say oversaturated or overvalued would be my
Okay.
perspective. There's too many people doing it. Prices are coming down. It's correcting.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So house hacking.
I'm still in the neutral place.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I'll go
we're going
undervalued on
PC
that
in our
one, for
yeah,
sure.
me too. Investing in build to rent communities.
Undervalued.
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 I like that. Investing in multifamily apartments.
I'm still trying to get my head around overvalued and undervalued. I don't know why that's.
Would you put money
I think there's
into it right
opportunity.
now?
Absolutely.
Undervalued.
So undervalued.
Undervalued means I do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Undervalued.
I would say just made the shift to undervalued.
I like that. That's a really good response. Following market experts on social media. So this is us.
Okay. With you as the exception, overvalued.
Overvalued.
Quality ones, undervalued.
Okay. Prioritizing location above all else.
Undervalued.
Yeah, undervalued. Yeah.
Leveraging to the max in a low interest environment.
Overvalued.
Overvalued, yeah.
Last one, investing during economic uncertainty.
Undervalued.
Undervalued, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Let's start with that one because our business, we bring investors in. I think we spoke to you as well. You guys do it also.
Yeah.
And what we've noticed is when everything's frothy, right? When everything's really expensive, it tends to be when everyone has cash and everyone feels good. So it's easy to raise money, but it's hard to find deals.
Yeah.
And then the second there's uncertainty, typically that either creates opportunity or it's in the beginning stages of creating opportunity. So that's when we want to be raising money. It's harder to raise money in that time. So how do you guys look at it? I think it's one thing when it's our money. We don't have to worry about other people's behavior. But how have you guys navigated that one where when there's opportunity, do you have to then wrestle against fear that other investors are feeling? And what do you have to do to get them to see the
I
opportunity?
mean, that's really the history of RealWealth. We've gone against the grain since the beginning. And I think I was just lucky enough to be able to interview really powerful, experienced investors on the RealWealth show 20 years ago and learn things from them. One particular partner we have, who we still work with on syndications, ground up development, his name's Fred, and in 2009, he brought us unbelievable deals. There was no money. 2009 was the huge recession, of course, and you couldn't get money from a bank. The only way was to syndicate, so I became a syndicator early on. And I just would ask him, how do we get over the fear of buying assets that you don't even know if the United States of America is going to exist?
Right.
That's what it felt like in 2009. You didn't know if our financial system was going to completely collapse. I was asking Rich to buy guns and store food. I mean, it was a scary time.
And gold.
And gold.
I did it
which
all.
was a
I
good,
was a good husband.
he's a very good boy. And I would say to Fred, how are you feeling so confident that, yes, we're getting a good deal on these assets, but how do you know we're going to be able to rent it, finance it? And he's like, I've been through this before. This isn't the first rodeo. There's always ups and downs. There's always recessions. And that's when the opportunity is. But if you look at the cycles in history, we come through it.
Right. So then you learned through what other people had done in the past and then just went, okay, let's do it.
I think I had to, I was scared. I trusted him because of his experience and success rate and so forth. But I think now I'm him for other people, where it's like I've seen enough times where COVID was scary. COVID was terrifying. We came through that. You know, we in 2001 there was the tech crisis. Remember 1999? People didn't know if
Y2K.
Y2K.
Right,
yeah.
There's always a reason to be afraid, and when everybody's afraid, that's when the market sort of stalls, and that's when the opportunity arises.
Was that natural for you, or was that a discipline that had to be created?
You know, it was more of a discipline on the marketing side of things, you know, because you're trying to raise funds or build a business. And so it's like you have to look at that and say, what's the investor psychology? And when investor sentiment is down, like it is right now, you know, everyone's afraid what's going on in our country and, you know, so many changes that I think you have to look at that and say, you know, how do we speak to that? And so it is looking at that, looking at what are you investing for? And that's what our company was all about. It's like long-term, where do you want to be in 10 years, in 20 years? More than we're not, it's transactional, as, you know, quick deal. We're not flippers or anything like that. So
Do you think that's something that can be trained? Or do you think that's something you have?
I don't know. I feel like it's something you have. Maybe some people you can convince them slowly over time, which is why I was curious to know, like, I understand you had this mindset, but when you were speaking to investors to bring capital in on these deals, I mean, how much education did you really have to get them to go through in order for them to see your thought process that was contrarian by nature?
What Kathy's been so wise about is to, ever since the beginning, when we started syndicating, is doing webinars for all the investors. Instead of so much one-on-one investor relations, she does it one-to-many, and then all those questions get brought up, and they do it in the chat, and it comes up. And so a lot of those are popping up the fear, and Kathy will speak to that in this public forum and kind of convince people that way.
That's good.
And show them just what she was just sharing about what's happened over the years and decades.
Yeah, because what we've found, it sounds like you might even do this better than us, is if once you have investors, right, now you're building the relationship with them like in real time, you're, you know, there's an education component, but they're getting used to how you problem solve. And also, when you have investors for a long time, they go through corrections with you, right?
Yeah.
So what we found is for our investor group, they don't trip anymore when this happens. It's more for some of the newer ones.
Yeah.
But we currently do quarterly updates to our investors, right? But we do them, like, we film them and we write it up and we send it out. We don't do like a live call, which it sounds like that's what you do. Or have done.
We'll do that when times are scary,
Okay.
you know, because, and like Rich was saying, on the front end, when you're trying to explain what is not obvious, you know, you have to be a forward thinker, and if everybody was doing it, it wouldn't be a deal, right? So you're doing something unique, something unusual that most people aren't doing at that time. So it's just, for me, a matter of explaining why. And once people get on board with that, and like Rich said, I've been on investor calls for 2 hours just answering questions. And I didn't want one-on-one calls because I didn't want the other investors to miss out on really good questions. And there would be questions I'd get stumped on. I'd say, wow, we'll come back in a week and I'll have the answers for that. Or I would have the CPA on the call, or I'd have the attorney on to just make sure that every answer was addressed and that every investor could hear it. And I wanted them to poke holes at it. I wanted them to tear it apart because this is their money. You know, it's a big deal to invest in a syndication.
And one thing I'd love to add onto that too is another thing she'll do is debunk headlines. You know, and so many investors, they're getting their news from the headlines, and it's so fear-based. And so she'll take that and she'll go, let's go through some articles and what's going on out there, what's being said, and then she'll debunk it.
Yeah, that's actually, Michael's very good at this. And I think this is where a lot of people make mistakes, is when they're asked a question that they don't know, the really good people say, let me find out. Let me get back to you. But there's definitely this pressure where you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to look like I'm not capable of doing this? And it's easy to have an urge to spit something out that you don't know is right.
Right.
Talk about that one, because that's a point that I want everybody to really understand and drive home, even if you're not in real estate. Somebody asks you something and you don't know the answer to. What has been the experience after you've said, let me get back to you? Has that built trust, or have you seen people lose trust in that response?
it must be building trust because we're able to still raise money after all these years. But usually I'll just say that is a really good question. Let me get back to you. And I will, and I'll get back to the entire group. There was one lady who every single investor meeting, she would show up and she would ask a million questions and I would never have the answer. She was so smart and always would end up investing. But I just thought, oh my gosh, if I come out with another project, I can't deal with her. And suddenly I had an aha moment. I'm just going to talk to her before the presentation. And then I had an even better idea, and we just hired her.
Yeah, that's
Or
good.
like, bring her on board. You know, she's brilliant, and she's a former attorney, so not cheap either. But that way, she's kind of blown away all of our attorneys and partners now because she asks really hard questions. So, and we have had a few really smart investors like that too that we've sort of brought on our
That's good.
team.
Did that go back to you to financial advisory? Is that where you learned how to be good at that?
I don't know, but I think, in my opinion, if you don't have the answer, unless you're an incredible liar, they will sense that you're.
Oh yeah,
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
right?
for
Like,
sure.
So
if
true.
you try to skirt around it and not
You'll be
actually
wiggly.
deliver the right answer, they're going to figure out that what you're telling them isn't
a really
true,
good point.
and you've lost them completely. Whereas if you tell them, "Hey, look, you know what? I don't know the answer. I'll get back to you on that one, either through email or on the next call." All right, maybe you lose them for something that maybe they think you should have known, but you don't. But at the very least, they're going to respect that you were honest with them.
That's
and
good.
I think it's the latter most of the time.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's her superpower. I mean, it's as far as what got you started. She had one of the first podcasts on real estate, 2005, and before that, it was her radio show in San Francisco. And she used to come home and say something about maybe it's because I'm a female and I don't have to be right, because guys a lot of times. We have this thing built in where it's like we have to have the answer, we have to be right, or whatever. You feel like, am I going to look like I don't know? But Kathy would just be like, so what do you mean? What is a HELOC? You know, and this is in the early days, you know, things like that.
Well, it's so funny. One of my, with Fred, the developer, that was my first deal, and it was a big deal. It was 27 townhomes in Portland on the water that went into foreclosure. We were able to buy all of them for $3 million. We just had to finish them out. I went to a board meeting I went to the attorney's office and all these men in suits and me wearing a pink dress, and they're talking about stuff I had no idea what they were saying. And I would just be like, what do you mean by that? And what's that? And every time I'd ask a question, all the other men the men in the room would be like, you could just feel them so grateful that I asked the question because they were all faking it. And that's one thing I learned. That was 15 years ago, that not everybody knows everything.
Yeah.
In fact, most people don't know much. And a lot of people are faking it. And it's okay to just ask the question. And that was,
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about this at lunch. We're having a problem with the birth rate, right? So there's been a new incentive that if you have a baby from 24 to 29, that baby gets $1,000 into an account that tracks the market, and then they could touch it after 18, which I think is a great policy to try to incentivize young families to have money.
Yeah.
Thoughts there? Is that actually going to move the needle? Is that going to help families? Is it not enough? What do you guys think?
I think it's going to move the needle because when you look at how much people actually have in savings, you know, when you look at that number, what is it? 70% of Americans have less than, what is it, $500 in savings?
It's low.
Really? So $1,000, like, I mean, that's going to be inspiring for a lot. So and it's going to increase the birth rate, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be.
I never thought of that.
I don't know if it's going to increase the birth rate for. I don't know. I'm just wondering about the type of people who are going to come.
Yeah, I think
out
it
of that.
potentially solves the concern for those that are not wanting to have kids because of financial constraint. I don't know if it solves those that aren't having kids because they're scared of what the world is and what it's going to look like. I'm not sure money solves it for that group,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, but at the very least, these kids are going to grow into potentially 6-figure savings accounts by the time they turn 18.
Well, I
Yeah.
love that
So at
one.
least college
Yeah.
should be, by and large,
That's a
paid
really
for.
good point. Right.
Yeah, no, I
think
love
it's,
it.
I think it's well thought.
You do a little match, put 2,000 in it,
Yeah,
a couple hundred
200 grand.
G's at 18, boom.
I mean, but you know what I like is that the incentive doesn't happen in the moment either. It's actually like deferred benefit. So
Yeah.
they're going to have to wait before they can obtain
Right.
it.
That's
right.
really good.
How big of a deal is 100% bonus depreciation coming back?
That's a huge deal.
Huge deal.
We're so happy about it because
Yeah.
this year we had some assets we wanted to bonus depreciated was what, 40%. It's not that inspiring.
Yep, they're going into service this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you guys are using it, telling investors, stoked on it.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're seeing too.
Yeah. No, we have a couple of high-end short-term rentals actually in Malibu, and it's going to be, those are going to be great deductions.
What's going on with the Malibu market? Are you guys I know you guys
It's
live
stalled.
there. Okay.
It's stalled. If you ever wanted to own property in Malibu, now's the time. Yeah, there's a house that we could see from our house. Beautiful sweeping views. I mean, incredible. It's on a hill, 3-bedroom, has just been renovated. Couldn't sell it. They lowered the price. I think it sold for $1.6 million.
Dang, that's crazy for Malibu.
For Malibu in the center with great schools. I mean, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like you guys are very bullish on real estate right now.
Well, yeah, especially with bonus depreciation. I think people are going to be diving back in hard.
What do you think they're
Yeah.
waiting for? The people that are sitting on the sidelines, are they waiting for interest rates?
Well, in commercial real estate, they're waiting for deals to pencil, would be my guess. You know, I know you guys are constructing, and that makes the numbers work better if you do it right, as
Right.
you know. But, you know, a lot, and not everywhere, and it's starting to change, but a lot of commercial real estate owners were just not lowering prices to where they need to be given the increase in costs, the increase in insurance, interest rates, CapEx. You know, nobody can come in and make those numbers work the way that they could make it work when they acquired it.
Right.
They had a lower rate, they had lower everything. So it's just kind of a stuck market. But
Okay, I want to get your perspective on this then. Jamie Dimon came out yesterday and said there's a 50% chance that interest rates go up in the next 2 years. I was listening to an economist 2 days ago with a different outlook. His was, you should be investing in the difficult markets where you're not seeing a ton of supply come onto the market, and interest rates are coming down 200 basis points in the next 12 months, and cap rates are following. So Jamie hedged, but two potential different outlooks. What do
Yeah.
you guys think happens? How maybe the better way to say it is, if you guys are looking at projects right now, how are you underwriting them, and
Yeah.
what is your expectation 3 years from now? Are you having interest rates higher, lower? What are you doing with cap rates?
I personally think interest rates will continue to rise.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. Why?
Well, we have a president that's pro-growth. There are now incredible tax deductions that would stimulate growth. And a lot of reshoring happening because of these tariffs. We know that some pharmaceutical companies have committed to like billions of dollars in reinvestment here in the U.S., chip manufacturing coming back to the U.S. So we have, love him or hate him, we have a pro-growth president. And a lot of the things he's done has tossed the stock market around. But I do believe that eventually there's going to be deals made, and that eventually, you know, he's about growth. We're not talking about a president who doesn't want that and is committed to it. So when there's growth, then that generally means that interest rates go up. Interest rates go down when things aren't going well. So if you think that Trump will be a massive failure, then you will get lower rates, which is what's kind of confusing about him trying to demand for lower rates, because generally that happens to stimulate the economy when things aren't good. But the job market's been fairly strong, and inflation is where it's supposed to be. So if you took a snapshot of what the Fed has been trying to do, their target is 2% inflation and 4.3% unemployment. We're there. We're exactly in the sweet spot that the Fed wants. So there's no reason right now to lower rates or raise rates.
So you think this is the new normal?
I don't think anything's
the,
normal right now.
Well, this would be the new
current
baseline
rates.
and of where rates are going to be.
It seems to be bouncing around right here. And at the end of the day, this is what, Trump has I don't know if he knew or didn't know, but he got a really loud message from the bond market when he first announced, what was it, Liberation Day, the tariffs. The bond market rebelled against that, and the stock market crashed. And the U.S. is dependent on selling bonds. We have to sell our debt. We're in debt. That's been the topic of the year. We're in massive debt. We have to sell bonds to survive. And the bond market stopped. And when people aren't buying bonds, rates go up. And he got kind of a slap in the face. And that's like the next day, he's like, you know what? 90 days from now, we'll talk about tariffs. And all of a sudden, everything took off. The stock market took off and everything. So I think it was a real awareness that Trump can't control everything. And he certainly can't control investors and where they put their money. And that's at the end of the day what affects rates.
That's good. Rich, you agree?
Yeah, she's the boss.
So in such a difficult market, how do you find the right deals?
Oh, that's right now. We're actually starting and launching a multifamily fund.
Good for you. Let's go.
We're doing a fund because there's been really nice deals that we would have liked to have acquired, but you have to have the cash and be ready to go. And if you're a syndicator, it takes 3 weeks to get the paperwork done at a minimum, and then you've got to raise the money and you've missed out on the deal. So we are seeing some multifamily opportunities. Some prices are down 30% or more from where they were, and that makes it pencil with the higher rates. That's where the prices need to be with costs the way they are today. So starting the fund, how do you find them? I think you probably know better than anybody, connections. You've got to be connected. You've got to know brokers. You've got to, if you're looking for off-market deals, then you need to be out there sending, talking to people.
Yeah. Okay, so then your outlook is, interest rates are high, but cap rates have moved. So we're going to go buy multifamily apartments while they're on discount.
Yep.
And you guys are going to take the approach of raising money first and then buying second.
Yes.
All right. Question to you.
That's so hard.
It's hard, but
It's so hard.
It's
the
hard,
blind,
but smart.
The blind pool is a very
We've-
challenging capital raise.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had a hard time. It's
Yeah.
what I want to do. I want to
Yeah.
have capital on hand, and then I want to go buy.
Yeah.
We've always struggled doing it for us personally. Like we've
Yeah.
always needed the deal for the investor to see the deal.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, we're going to structure it in a way where those who come in and have worked with us for 15 years and have confidence, they see what we've been trying to buy and haven't had the money to do it. And they can just do a commitment.
yeah.
So that we know that they are legally committed to funding it once we find that deal.
Yes.
Then there'll be others that get a higher preferred return for blindly trusting.
Okay, so you create an incentive for Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think rates stay high? You think they come down
I think that they're going to come down a little bit.
a little bit?
I think because I don't see prices moving enough in the real estate space. So either people are going to have to soften the cap rates
Even more?
even more, or I think we're going to see a little bit of a rate reduction. I'm not sure it's going to be 200 bips though. 200 bips is very optimistic.
It's
to me.
very optimistic.
I think
would-
50 bips is probably the max I think we'll see by the end of this year.
Yeah, we had a partner meeting after we watched that, and the general outlook was, okay, this feels good. I want to believe him, but we're not underwriting to it yet. That would be if it happens,
Right, that
great.
would be silly.
But we're going to underwrite where it's, I think, sticky. is
And,
what
and
we're
let me
doing.
correct myself. I do think the Fed is going to lower rates. I was talking more about mortgages, which are more tied to the bond market. But I do think that the Fed will lower rates probably once or twice this year.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would be at this point shocked if we don't see at least a 25 bit reduction
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think
The
so.
inflation is, do you think inflation is still an issue?
Not in this moment.
Do you think the things that are being done right now are still giving concern to the Fed that inflation might come back?
You know, we have a nephew that has launched a new company and he's got investors in it. He makes really cool ways to get the bulk food. You know, he's got a fancy system for that, and it's really taken off. And he got his factory and he got everything ready to go. And then the tariffs happened, so a lot of companies in preparation have bought what they need, and that's part of the reason why things are still okay right now. They haven't, from what he said, they're not really going to feel it till August because a lot of people stockpiled, and then they're going to have to go get more, and it's going to be higher. So we'll see.
Do you like the idea of tariffs?
I like the idea of fairness, but
That's a great answer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's tariffing us and we're not tariffing them, that's not fair.
Right.
But I don't like the way it's been handled.
Yeah.
I don't like making enemies with our friends.
Yeah, using it as a negotiating tool is not the coolest.
Yeah. So how's the dynamic between you guys when you guys are working together? Is there
I just listen to whatever she tells me.
Yeah. Okay. That's why you guys have been married so long. Is it hard at all? Is it ever hard?
It's been hard, but we've worked through it, learned things. I think the huge lesson for us was don't share the same role. At one point, for a couple of years, we were co-CEOs of our company. And that became very challenging because, different leadership styles, different ways of seeing things. If she said anything about the way I was doing my job, I would take it very personally. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we've learned to really identify what is her unique abilities, her unique strengths, what are mine. And we've kind of separated into these different roles.
Yeah, there was many years where I was CEO, and that technically I was his boss, so that was not okay. Then we did the co-CEO model, and then, like Rich said, we just decided he's going to take over the turnkey side, the realty side, where we help investors build their own portfolios and turnkey properties nationwide, and that I would just run the syndication department with the commercial deals, and that works out great.
It works out
It's
great.
kind of like we're running two separate companies in a way, but also together.
Well, I mean, I think that's indicative of any partnership, right? Like when you have multiple partners, if you guys are all working on the same thing, there's bound to be issues that come up because of the overlap or duplication of effort or whatever the case may be. When you have distinct roles where you're working on this and I'm working on that and we have to connect just to loop each other in and let each other know what's going on, but our roles are separate and succinct from one another, then it's a lot better. He and I try to avoid as much overlap as we can.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. It's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like being married, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Do you guys think it's healthy if you're working, maybe it's not even working together, but if husband and wife are both working, maybe not in the same company, do you think it's healthy to have separation where when you're together, you don't talk about business? Or do you think there's times where it's appropriate? Should you have boundaries? What have you guys found that's best?
Yeah, I can share that. Well, yeah, we found that a lot of our business talk was bleeding into date night. And then by the end of date night, you don't get what you want. It doesn't work out too well.
Whoa, hang on one sec. Before we get back into the podcast, I have a quick update. We just got 3 new apartment buildings that we're putting into our 6th fund, and it's in such an undersupplied market. So if you've always wanted to get into real estate because you want passive income, tax benefits, and appreciation, but you didn't want to do the work, I might have an offering for you. Check out communecapital.com/fund6. I'll also include the link in the description. Let's get back to the interview.
So what we've done is we do just one-on-one meetings with each other that are business focused, strategy focused, and then even with our team at work. So we just have those meetings, and then date night. The rule is no work talk. Yeah,
Just
it's
fun.
just fun, romance, acknowledging her.
What do you? I know. I mean, we don't have. I mean, we've had couples on the podcast, but we're usually interviewing like an individual founder or CEO. But I'm going to ask this. This is going to be more relationship talk or relationship advice. Has there been one thing, like a key principle that you guys have had that has helped your marriage succeed for so long?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a few of them. But when we were first dating, I came from a family that argued a lot, and he didn't. So we got in a fight over something, and I swore at him. I said a naughty word, and he was just like, he was just shaking, like, what? Like, no, he hadn't really experienced that. And he just put his hand up and was like, if you love me, why wouldn't you talk to me that way? Like, why wouldn't you talk to me like you love me? And it was just like, I don't know. I didn't know you could do that. I thought you had to punch it out if you were fighting. And I had to learn new communication skills and how to argue in a way where you're still loving each other, you know? So I think that was like, he made it super clear from day one, you will never swear at me ever or raise your voice to me. Like, there's no need.
Yeah, just treat each other with respect.
Yeah. And he doesn't to me either. Yeah.
So learning conflict resolution.
Communication.
Communication's huge. Yeah, I don't think you can learn how to be a good communicator, right? And so the big one for me is a single word is curiosity. And it's like curiosity has solved so many challenges in our relationship and anything like that. And it's I had to learn it, because instead of coming from proving my point or trying to be right or defending myself, it was, do I fully understand her? And when I started to say that, like, okay, I think I'm understanding what you're saying, and I would speak it back to you, and then she'd say, yes, and, tell me more. But when I flicked that switch of just keep being curious, it was a game changer.
Oh, that's good.
Game changer.
I was listening to somebody say, one of the best premarital things you can do is, if you want to get married with somebody, go do something extremely uncomfortable, like go camping. Go out in the middle of nowhere and see how you guys are when it's not ideal.
Yeah.
See how you argue. See how you get to resolution. Go figure that out first. That will give you so much kind of insight and things you need to learn prior to getting married.
Yes.
Because a lot of us get married and then we have to figure it out after.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you have kids, a lot of the things come out that you didn't even realize were there from your parents.
Yep.
Right? Like, the big one for us, we had a very similar issue. Like, how my wife fought was different than me. And so, when we get in arguments, it was like, why isn't this working? And then money, our view of money was different. And that was two things we had to learn after we got married.
Yeah.
But I think tackling some of those things pre-kids is pretty important.
Yeah.
We have a really close friend. They're actually counselors at Pepperdine, or he was the
youth minister. For years.
And our daughter just, oh my gosh, just loved him. She's like, you know what they said? They said, we're going to start marriage counseling before we're married so that we never need it. And they did marriage counseling all through their marriage. They're like, why do it when you need it? That's too late.
Yeah.
And it's like so many people don't realize that marriage is work. And most of us didn't probably have an example of a good communication skills in our parents, or good parenting skills or whatever. Why not take some time to understand how to have a good relationship, to dive into it, to read books on it, to get coaching, counseling. Otherwise, you're just going to repeat the cycles and cycles of generations before you.
That's good. Were you guys were you guys both similar in your outlook of money? Like, any scarcity or abundance mindset differences, spending differences?
I think I came more from abundance, overabundance.
We can have a lot of fun together, and we can go broke together. We can spend too much together. We've done
it all.
And so I think we're dangerous in that regard because we like to have a lot of fun. But we, early on, Rich, was like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. Saving 10%, investing 10%, putting 10% aside for emergencies. All this stuff. We had all these buckets, and we were kind of doing everything right. And then when he was diagnosed with melanoma and told he had 6 months to live 20 years ago, he's healthy and fine today. The doctor was wrong. But we blew through that savings so fast. And that's when I realized, like, oh, man, we're following all the traditional financial advice, and it didn't work. And that's what kind of led us to real estate, is like, oh, this is a different way of understanding money and I kind of taught it to my daughter, too, who... she was trying to understand what wealthy people do. And wealthy people don't spend their core money. They live off of it. Like, we have a friend who's got a $10 million nest egg. She doesn't touch it. She only lives off the money it generates for her. Yeah. So when she says she makes $200,000 a year or whatever, I don't know what she's making. That's how she sees herself. She doesn't see herself as a 10 millionaire. She sees herself that earns $200,000, $300,000 a year from investing that. So it's a different mentality. And something about real estate kind of allows you to acquire the asset, and the money it generates you can live on, but you don't touch the nest egg.
Yeah. So what's the best piece of advice for, like, beginner investors that typically want to go get their first rental property as a home, and single family homes don't generate a ton of cash flow in the sense of the dollars that are coming in? Do you have to kind of help them have their vision that it's not just one property, it needs to be 20 and you're going to get there? And what is that like for the newbies?
It doesn't even have to be 20. I mean, it could be 5, or it could be, I think the big difference there is that real estate builds wealth more than focusing on the cash flow. So it's not, don't look at it like a business, like, oh, I'm going to buy this rental property, I'm going to make $200 a month in cash flow and try to live off that and get 20 of them or whatever and build it up from there. I think it's really looking at that longer term vision of, like, when our older daughter is 24, she was going to buy a new car. And Kathy said, just wait a minute. Just see if you pre-qualify for a house first. And she went, she pre-qualified, she bought a house in Chico, and it got her started as a 24-year-old. And then the equity in that house just went do. When they had the Paradise fires and everything, her house in Chico, the rent went crazy up around that area when you could. And it changed her life. So I think it's more that. It's about seeing real estate as something that's going to be wealth building more than focusing on the cash flow in the beginning.
How many people do you think are too focused on the cash flow when it comes to real estate as opposed to the wealth build? Because I feel like I have this conversation every single day with investors that are looking at putting capital with us.
I think a lot of it is because of the way things are marketed. You know what I mean? People look at that, or they see that, and they see it in the stock market, and they see people, invest in Tesla when it went, and they're like, oh, that's where I'm going to focus. I can make a lot of money over there. But they just don't have that mindset of the long-term wealth building. And it doesn't even have to be that long-term. It could be, a 5-year window.
I mean, I think it's the FIRE movement, right? Retire, the whole retire early concept of, well, if I buy enough properties, I can get enough cash flow and quit my job, which seemed to be like a really strong emphasis. I really hate my job. So the first message I like to give people is, then you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the right job, it won't feel like a job, and you'll wake up, jump out of bed wanting to do it. That's what needs to be your mission. Because if you're young and you have energy and intelligence, I think Rich can speak to it the most. Like, we are meant to have a purpose and a passion. We're not meant to go play golf all day. And people who do, I see a lot of trust funds, kids in Malibu, they don't have direction. They're not really satisfied.
And then they start filling the gap with drugs or overeating or whatever they, do.
It's interesting how that happens, huh?
It is, because we are, what do you say,
teleological
Logical
beings.
yeah.
Having a target. We need a target to, when we're on purpose, and we're like, that's what I want to achieve. And we know we're moving toward it. That's when we feel the best. We're stoked. And, it's this comfort crisis that is happening in our country.
Yeah, so I usually, want to tell young people, find what you love to do. I mean, certainly cash flow would be great, but you need money to have cash flow. If you've got, like, look at our daughter who was able to buy her first house with 3% down. Anybody can buy real estate. Let me tell you, she was 24 years old making like $30,000 a year. She did it in Chico, but it's still about the same price in Chico. But the values went up enough that she was able to sell that house and buy one in Agora just a couple years later. So anyone can do it. You can get your first property with 3% down, but that is not. You can't cash flow with no money. It's going to be probably impossible. If you had $1 million, if you got an inheritance, or you sold a business, or you have a big chunk of money, go buy some go buy some cash flow properties. You'll have enough money that it will make sense. But if you're putting down 20% and you're cash flowing a few $100 a month, it's not going to get you there.
So focus on wealth build until you have the wealth, and then put it to work through cash flow.
100%.
Yeah.
You got to build the wealth first.
I like that. So there's a lot of talk going on right now about getting rid of property taxes. That if you own a house, why are you paying property tax for the house you already own?
Yeah.
Now, who knows if that actually happens? Do you think that would be a smart thing to do, to get rid of property tax? Or do you think that would cause a bigger issue because so many of your cities and counties and the kind of local community rely on that tax income to...
It's just going to get shifted. Sales tax is going to go up. They're going to find ways to tax other things. So, I don't think it would be a game changer in that as far as what is the out-of-pocket, but it's going to benefit homeowners.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than anyone.
Yeah.
The people who don't own homes, I think has a negative impact on them.
But it is a question, why is that burden following on the homeowner versus the renter, who I guess technically the renter is paying for it through rent, if the landlord is paying that. But I mean, cities have to get their revenue somehow. So how are they going to do it? I think it would be, I kind of like California's tax structure. And I'm a little surprised that LA County...
parts?
That it's a flat property tax.
On property tax,
Property tax.
Okay.
Let me be clear, property tax. Yeah, but I remember being really young when my dad was kind of fighting for that. And what was happening is prices and values were going up so quickly in California that retirees couldn't keep up with the increasing property taxes. That's what we're seeing in Texas, Florida, anywhere where property taxes go up based on the value of the assessed value of the property. It's really hard on people with fixed incomes, like seniors. They can't afford to stay in their home.
Yeah.
So I love that in California we fixed that. I know some people don't love that, but it's like we're paying a lot of property tax, but I think it's a fair amount.
Yeah.
If it were on assessed value, then we'd have to sell.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do love that too. It's interesting because you're starting to see condo prices drop because HOA fees and insurance are driving
Oh
up
my
so
gosh,
fast that
yes.
people can't afford it.
That's
so you're kind
right.
of seeing that happen in real
Yep.
time on the condominium side.
Got to be careful of condos.
What's
Why?
up? Yeah.
HOAs, just HOAs.
They can do
If
whatever
you've
they
been,
want.
we were on an HOA together, and if you think, an HOA is just like a mini government, and if you work in an HOA, you can see how flawed government is in general. It's like we had people screaming at each other over the color that we were going to paint the building, and we had people working that were on the board who were funneling money to themselves. They had contracting business, and they were HOA will teach you everything about politics, I think.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if it's not well maintained and not well managed, then all the expenses fall on the condo owners, and it can be a lot of money.
And then the special assessments start coming in, which is where
Yep.
it gets totally out of control.
Totally.
Totally out of control.
The,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
place where we lived and we're on the HOA board and sold because we saw the problems coming, they now have a $10 million assessment because they're beachfront and they didn't take care of it.
I know there's a new law that just came out, right, around HOAs. That it was something about the fines, and it's a cap on the fines. Where it's
For
like
California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For California.
Yeah, we love putting caps on things in our state. I get it, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
interesting because it's like what you mentioned earlier. Everything that they do, there's a shift that happens somewhere, right? Like
Yeah.
for rent, for example, if you cap rents, what ends up happening? Does it end up truly suppressing rents and making homes more affordable? No. That price gets shifted over in another way.
It gets
It's
homes to be more dilapidated.
exactly right. So
It's great for the people who are in the fixed rent. It's great for them, but
Yeah, the other way, how I've always looked at it is, it's like business, right? Like if our cost of goods goes up, what do? We pass that off to the consumer,
Yeah.
right? It happens with real estate as well.
Yeah.
It's like if you suppress rents, then okay, are investors going to invest in those markets? No. So it's only a matter of time before you have population growth that outpaces new development,
Yep.
and then you have a shortage, and then you're California, and prices go through the roof.
Or you're seeing it happening live with insurance in and of
Yeah.
itself, right? Like insurance premiums keep escalating and escalating. Landlords are not paying for that. They're passing that increase off through rent.
Yeah, or you have what's going on with New York. Are you familiar with all the ghost apartments in New York?
No.
Oh, it's a massive issue. So
Oh.
basically, in New York, if you're walking the streets, there's like huge apartment buildings that are completely vacant,
what?
right? And the reason why is they put a rent cap on rents, and simultaneously they have forced owners to basically bring the older buildings up to code.
Oh,
When a
boy.
tenant moves out. So now it's so expensive for them to renovate that they can't bring the rents up to match, and
Yeah.
it makes no sense for them to do the actual work.
Yeah.
So they found that it's better to just let it sit, and at least they're getting their depreciation, or in a lot of cases, they're letting the property go.
Oh my goodness.
It's just that it does not make sense for them to put additional dollars in,
Wow.
which has suppressed the market overall even more.
Yes.
Because now you have less units to rent, and it's just an ongoing cycle.
Is Malibu exposed to the mansion tax?
To the what?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Malibu's,
tax?
Malibu's LA County, right?
LA County.
Wait, no, the mansion tax is LA
LA
City.
City.
Oh, it's
the
the
mansion.
city.
Yeah,
you
It's
guys
just
aren't
the
LA
city.
City.
Yep.
Right,
No.
yeah.
But even
Right.
but even
County.
that, you put that tax on the back end. What does
Yeah.
it cause everybody to do? Just not sell until they can get enough of a price point that covers that increased tax amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you see that Governor Newsom just passed? I don't know if it's a bill, but basically Newsom just pushed 110.
Oh, I did see that.
Is it 110?
$110 million access to grants.
Okay, so he just created a grant program of $110 million for the Pacific Palisades
Yep.
to rezone land to become multifamily with a 40% focus on homeless housing. So now,
In Pacific Palisades.
You bid on obtaining the grant, and you must have 40% of your units allocated to homeless housing. I'll pull it up.
I was tripping when I saw
I thought
this.
it was affordable housing.
I thought it was affordable housing too.
Okay.
And when I first saw it, I was like, okay, affordable housing in the Palisades, it's going to be based on the median income or the annual household income, which is almost $400,000. So I was like, okay, I could see that. But he told me today it's homeless housing.
Yeah, to qualify as supportive housing multifamily housing project must have at least 40% of its units for the homeless or individuals who have spent at least 15 days in jails, hospitals, prisons, and institutes of mental illness. Projects gain additional points for being in transit-oriented development within a quarter of a mile of a transit station. This program allows for 50 to 80% density bonus based on the level of transit service. So as long as 15 units of the units are set aside for very low or low income housing.
So $110 million is going to be one apartment.
I was just going to say they'll be lucky to get 100 units out of that.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Because they tried it already several times in Santa Monica. They built a beautiful apartment building for homeless. And I think same thing, it ended up being about $800,000 per unit.
1.2 million
1.2 million per unit?
per unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Talk about efficiency of your spend.
$100 million is going to give 100 people, some homes now. But
Okay, I'm going to go back
it's not going to solve the problem.
No, it's not. I'm going to go back to the interest rate staying high. If interest rates stay high, what's going to happen to single family homes? Do you think prices are going to continue to go down?
That is a very, very good question. There is a lot more inventory out there, and prices have been going down. And obviously, in areas like Austin, great place to buy. I just said Malibu is if you have ever wanted to live there, this is the time. Will that continue? It all depends on wage growth. If wage growth continues to rise and people can handle, if things become more affordable, if prices stay where they are, then we'll continue to see the market move. You have, I believe it's like 40% of homes today are owned free and clear. You've got a huge baby boomer population that has paid off their mortgage after 30 years, and they own that home free and clear. Then you've got a massive amount of people on 2, 3, 4% interest rates who are probably in the best position they've ever been in as homeowners. Their house payment compared to their income is the best it's ever been. Because of that, they're in such low payments. If they sold that house and tried to buy the house next door or the same house, the payment would be double, if not triple. So you have a very large group of people who are sitting very comfortably.
Yeah, they're locked in.
They're locked in. So the real issue is for everyone else who's trying to get in. And the only way they're going to get in is if they're either experiencing wage growth because they need to be able to qualify for the loan, or they're taking over someone else's loan.
So what do you think kids should do? Should kids start looking at moving to other areas where housing's cheaper and get in at 7%? Or should they wait and save? What's the best advice for Gen Z that want to buy a home?
I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, when we bought our first house, it was over 7%.
Yeah.
So I don't know if rates are so much high. They're just we got used to low. So I think it's like things are going to adjust and it's going to settle out, and over time it'll work out. But now,
yeah. But the only thing is on that one, and the reason I'm saying this, I talked to my dad about this the other day. The ratio of income versus your debt is so thrown off with the price of homes right now at 7%, right? So 7% in relation to the early 80s, it's nothing, right? I bought my first house was like 6.5, but the home prices were, my first house I bought was $550.
Yeah,
But incomes were lower.
Incomes were a little bit lower. True. Yeah, really true.
But the value of homes has escalated far above wage increases.
Yeah, that's true.
Going back to your point, as wages continue to increase, the affordability for those homes goes up as well. And so theoretically that can solve the problem. I think we just need more supply. Yeah.
Or what we did in our first house that we couldn't afford was house tag. Like you talked about earlier. Yeah, that's why we're fans of it.
Turn into a fourplex.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's platforms that can help you do that too.
I love house hacking. It's the one thing I wish I would. I kind of did it. I did I have no clue what I'm doing, and I'll rent some of the rooms out to my friends.
Yeah.
But no one paid me, and
we still do it.
Yeah.
To this day.
We still do it. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we got our guest house on our property and Airbnb that, and it helps
pays
a lot.
for everything.
And our younger daughter who's looking to buy now in San Diego that's our plan.
Yeah, so you can with FHA loans, for those who don't know, you only have to put 3.5% down, and you can go over $1 million on a fourplex. So if you can find a fourplex, you only have to put 3% down. You're renting the other 3 units out. That's one way to do it. I think it's like 1.2 million that you can go up to.
It just increased. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount there in
So
London.
that's one way to do it. Another way is the pad split whole, you're going to be bringing in income from the other rooms, creating an ADU. There's low income loans for people that if they're under I think you know more about that loan, but if you're under the median income, then you can qualify for all the financing to build that ADU, and now you've got income property on your land.
Right.
So get creative.
Yeah.
More than move somewhere else where you don't want to live,
Yeah.
I mean, that for me, I would hate to move somewhere where I hated living.
And I would do it. If I were in my 20s, I would go live somewhere cheap. And you don't have to live there forever. And don't say you heard it from me, although I guess it will be recorded. But, when you get your loan for your primary residence, there's nothing in there that says you have to stay there forever. You just have to be intending to live there.
Right.
And if life takes you somewhere else, then you go there as long as the mortgage is being paid. You're allowed to rent it.
Yeah, that's
So-
the beauty of the FHA is you have to put in a year, but after the year, you can just replace your unit. Now you have a
Yeah.
cash flowing asset.
Yep, you do not have to live there forever. So yeah, you just don't live where you want. We didn't live in our dream places. We were first married. You have to get uncomfortable a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it for the house hacking play. I think it's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. And honestly, unfortunately, in many cases for a lot of people, it's the only way they can afford living in LA.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's 100% right. For ADUs, how big of an opportunity is the ADU environment right now? Do you think everybody should be buying a property and trying to put an ADU on, or even with apartments now?
In this state, you're saying?
Yeah, like in our city, which we just had to change our policy to match the state. If you have a multifamily apartment that's, I believe it's north of 10 units, you can now add up to 8 ADUs on it.
Yeah.
And then you could do, single family. It's never been easier to add an ADU.
It's incredible.
So big opportunity.
I think it's a big opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity. It's a massive one, and probably one that's not here forever, because I think people are going to push back. Because what you just said, is it that you could put 3 ADUs on your property?
You can do a ADU. You can do a junior ADU. I don't know if you can do a 4th. You might be able, or a 4 total. You might be able to.
I thought I read that somewhere. I'm sure it depends on the size of the land, but if how are the neighbors going to feel about that? And what about parking? I mean, my daughter, our daughter was able to sell her house in Chico and buy one in Agora, and she could put an ADU or 2 in her yard. It's large enough, but there's no parking currently for the people who live there. So can you imagine if everybody on that street put in a couple of ADUs in their yard? When as a developer, and we know as developers, traffic studies are part of getting your permits and your zoning, right? You have to be able to prove that the traffic can handle it and that there's parking. So unless we get to a point where we really have a lot of driverless cars, or some other way of commuting besides
Or
having
make them
a
be able to
car,
expand their driveway.
or expand your drive, it's going to be a real problem. So I just interviewed an expert on this, and she basically said, jump in now because there's a chance this will change. There will be pushback.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, actually. It's such a good point. Like, all the energy is towards ADUs, but they don't have to go through the same thing we have to go through. Like what
No.
you just mentioned, the EIR, and before we get a project entitled, the amount of work you have to go through with the city to see how your project is going to impact the infrastructure is massive. None of that is at play. And the crazy part is when you're doing ADUs, you're putting them into single family residence, right? Like our zoning is different. It's not usually tucked into the suburbs.
Yeah.
This is. And so there's no additional parking. There's no parking garage. None of that's at play.
Looking at the pollution studies. I mean, think of all the impact, all the studies you have to do to get to where you can start building.
Yeah.
And you can, as I understand it, just get it approved pretty quickly.
Yeah. Even storage, sometimes you have to do an environmental impact report, right?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
How big of a deal is the coastal commission for you guys? Do you ever deal with them with
Oh,
anything on
yeah.
the beach?
Oh, yeah.
We have a
coastal.
friend who's dealing with the house has got burnt down on the other side of the
Yeah.
PCH, right?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
It's instead of saying you're going postal, I think it should be you're going coastal.
Yeah.
Rich could talk all about just what it took to get a septic system in and dealing with coastal.
Oh yeah, just trying to get a septic system in Malibu, and everything's good through go through the different departments, health department, everything. Then we get to coastal, and they're like, well, the oak tree drip line is 30 feet away from this. It needs to be 35 feet away. So you have to do a whole new seepage pit, and that's going to go over here. It was like an extra $20,000 to do that. And so basically we were able to trim the oak tree back. You can go up to 2 inches you can't go over that on an oak tree here. So we had it all trimmed back by an arborist, and the drip line became 35 feet away, and we were able to do it. And then, so we're all done, and this is after months of work going back and forth with them. Yeah, and years, yeah, totally. And in the beginning, but then we're like, oh, good, we got it approved, everything's good. And then the woman at the Coastal Commission, she goes, well, there's that black walnut tree that's right next to it too. We're like, oh.
What tree?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they have so much power.
It's a lot.
There's a reason why people who had their homes burned down in the 2018 Malibu fire only like in the last year have started getting permits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
we know
it's taken
some.
forever
Yeah.
to be able to rebuild their homes.
Yeah.
It's
That's
really
right.
sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Yeah, can you imagine God forbid your house burns down, you have to wait 7 years just to be able to put the shovel back in and build?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
all the
that's right.
hours of
Will you guys
dealing
invest
with
in California, other than you guys living here? Will you invest in
I
assets
would
here?
with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good answer.
We stopped syndicating. Well, we're doing some entitlement projects in Northern California. Those are going really well, and entitlement projects have such a high return. And for those who are not sure what that means, it means getting the approvals to be able to build on a property, all the process of getting to that point where you can build, and then you sell the land to someone who's ready to build, who we already have the buyer. So we'll do that, but we don't love building in California anymore because of all the regulations. Maybe that'll be changing. I don't know. You know better than me. But we, on our last California deal, we bought an old warehouse and turned it into residential, more affordable housing in Northern California. And at the very last minute, they had us put in a traffic light and a few other things, and last minute negotiations, and we ended up still returning 11% to investors, but it was supposed to be 22. And it was just like, doggone it, we're done. School fees were like $80,000, and so we just decided we moved our operations to Reno, where school fees were like $12,000 versus $80,000. Like, it was just a completely different world.
What are you guys underwriting to right now? Like, for you guys to say yes on a project, are you guys looking at maybe a total project return or a yield on cost? What is the metric you guys are looking for, and what's the floor for you guys to say yes?
That's your department.
I mean, yeah, it depends on what it is, and the.
What about we're going into multifamily.
Multifamily, yeah.
Right? What do you want to hit? What's the strategy? So what are you going to be doing? Is it stabilize, light renovation, deep,
Yeah.
development? And then depending on what your strategy is, what's the floor for you to say yes?
So we're kind of going in an arena that is not as popular. It's a smaller multifamily.
I love that.
Yeah. So we're, and then our syndication manager has built multifamily, has renovated. He's got a lot more experience than we do. We're more single family people. So we brought him in for that purpose. And he was a broker for many years. He knows how to negotiate because he was on the broker side for many years. So he's really seeing that opportunity with smaller operators who just couldn't, they took on the wrong debt and they're in big trouble. So, we're looking for smaller, like I said, probably in the end, 15 to 17%.
Okay. And then when you're looking at, because they're out there, distressed operators, are you looking to purchase it from them at discount? Is it pref equity? What are we going after?
Buying it outright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big of an opportunity do you think that is right now?
Huge.
Yeah.
I think there's so much distressed assets and people that are getting to the tail end of how long they can wait to carry a property before they're just going to fire sale it off.
How much time do you think we have until the floodgates open?
6 months to a year, I think.
I think it's
Might be
open.
sooner.
I think it's open, yeah.
I mean,
It's opening.
Yeah.
Our deal flow went through the roof because of that.
Yeah.
It was developers knowing that they're not going to qualify
They
for the refi.
couldn't do it, yeah.
Yeah, but some of
Yeah.
the, yes, we have, and we're starting to see them become more realistic on their price points. But when it started, they still had like astronomical dreams.
Yeah.
They thought they'd
Right,
be able
of
to get
course.
out achieving the kinds of returns. It's like, what? No, there's so
Yeah.
much deal flow out there right now.
Right.
There was a belief that this would be the year the interest rates would come down.
Right.
Yeah,
Survive.
survive till 25. That's
Yeah,
right.
that didn't
Yeah.
happen. So a lot of people have been feeding these properties. They've been doing capital calls with the hopes that we're going to refi into a lower rate, and that obviously hasn't, manifested.
How has the pre-entitlement projects been for you guys? Because there's real money to make there, but there's also a lot of money you could potentially lose.
There's a ton of risk. So yeah, coming back to what you were saying, we have over 88,000 members at RealWealth, and they're not all the same person. So there's people who want something super conservative. There are those who are willing to take those big risks.
Yeah.
And it's shocking to me how many. Like, I don't know if they're just big gamblers from the Silicon Valley. They've got money to blow. I don't know, but we did one webinar to raise for that entitlement project, and it was sold out. And then we did a super conservative one after that, hard to raise money on. So, you don't necessarily always know what people want, but it does seem like we've got high rollers that just kind of like taking chances.
One webinar.
It'd be amazing.
We have to do a lot of webinars. That's
But
good.
we had to do a lot of for our single family rental fund, which to me it couldn't have been more conservative, safe, still a great upside.
Yeah, and you
know-
guys took a different approach. Like, I think that was the blessing of all the work you put in on the front end to have, what you say, 88,000 members?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's also 20 years in business.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
I love that.
Benefits to being old.
Real quick, when we say little, because little might be different for the person listing.
Yeah.
What unit count are you trying to stay within? Is it like 5 to 20, 15 to 30?
We're talking buildings under 10 million.
Okay.
So I've seen a lot of operators go into the $100 million units, and there are people that have very little experience, and those are probably
It's a different
not
animal.
going to work out well. But
Yeah.
that's institutional. They're not looking for the stuff that's under 10 million.
People often underestimate a project 100 million or more. One thing goes sideways on you, and the amount of capital reserves you have to have on hand just in case that comes to light
Yeah.
is pretty massive, and that's where a lot of them lose those kinds of projects.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's like actually a really good point is we saw a lot of bad behavior leading up to the financial crisis in 2008.
Yeah.
Right? On the mortgage side. You actually saw something very similar in commercial real estate
Oh,
leading
yeah.
up to
Absolutely.
22
All over
is
the place.
that everybody learned how to sell and they learned how to raise money online.
Yes.
And that's what they were good at.
Yeah.
So they raised an astronomical amount of money. They had no experience actually operating.
Right.
And they're the ones by and large getting smoked right
But
now.
I know people who are maybe just a year or two experience, and we're buying $150 million apartments, and they don't own those anymore. So, but they had no problem raising the money. They also were taking 1% to 2% acquisition fees, so they were making big bucks at the beginning, and it's just kind of not. Anyway,
There was some FOMO too.
yeah, I had it. I'd be watching all these people buying apartments. Like, what am I not seeing? Nothing's penciling for us. Everybody else, it seems to be. And then they'd show me the deals. And I'm like, oh no, we're not doing that.
That happens to us all the time.
Yeah, we
It
feel
happened,
that
right?
all the time.
All
But
the time.
we just figured we'll let that bigger stuff go to the institutional guys, the bigger players, and we're just going to focus on the stuff they're not interested in.
I love that. That's such a
Yeah.
good model. For anyone listening to this that wants to get information on the new fund or join and hopefully get that 88,000 to 90,000, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Realwealth.com.
Realwealth.com.
Realwealth.com. Yeah.
And then once they get in there, they can hear about deal flow and potentially become an
Yeah,
investor.
it's free to join. We offer an enormous amount of education, all free. That's always been our thing, is we want you to be so sophisticated that when you see a deal, you'll jump on it. And maybe that's why we raise easily. It's like that is our goal, is you're going to come from knowing nothing to being super savvy, and then it makes it a lot easier to make decisions when you know what you're looking at.
Absolutely love that. And then and anything else we can plug where people
Oh.
can find you? Podcast,
Yeah,
Instagram, what is it?
Real Wealth Show is the podcast that's been around for 20 years now. Our book, Scaling Smart. We just came out with
Let's hold
that.
that up. I love that. which is the hardest thing to do in business. That's very underrated or not talked about enough.
And then co-authoring is also a challenge.
Yeah, but we did it.
But we did it. We actually went pretty smooth.
Great work.
Yeah, but the idea of the book is like, why grow? Like it could become very addictive. Like we said, a lot of FOMO, but this book is really to help people come back to the heart center. Like, what is it you really want? And then let your businesses, let your real estate all work towards that goal rather than those owning you. And you kind of forget what you're doing it for.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll just close with this. 2020, I had the Peloton and I was writing and listening to podcasts. And for 2 years straight, I would listen to your 6-minute snippet.
Oh, real estate news.
Real estate news on what was going on. And so anyone listening, Kathy does such a good job on this. Go listen to her. Rich, if anybody has the pleasure of meeting Rich, he has a presence to him that is unbelievably calming and enjoyable to be around. So get connected with these two. Thank you for being here. We'll see you guys next week.